the fallout, we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of a world that we defy. A soul ray of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light. Hearing voices from afar, join the madness when the curtain falls. Risk it all, hold nothing back. Seize the day, we must attack. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of a world that we defy. A soul ray of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light. Can we bring to fall the giants? 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 We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of a world that we defy. A soul ray of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace, restore our Gloria to live forever. Bring down the dark regime and know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. I am the light bringer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another SLE fixture. Today, we will have the SLE powerhouse and the reigning champions, Vitagen. They are up against Silver Phoenix Dasa. I know you rate Vitagen very highly, and last game they had dominant performance. They're coming into this with full momentum. How are we thinking they're going to fare up against the Silver Phoenix?
Definitely has the momentum by their side. Vitagen going up against Quantify last week went 2-0 against them, and this is as well the first game of week 3, which gets us started off, in my opinion, in a very exciting start as well. And I'm expecting for some hype games, obviously on the side of Silver Phoenix. Played Gucci Yang last week, and surprisingly went up against such a powerhouse of a team and still pulled themselves with a 1-1. So I feel like on the side of Silver Phoenix, they are very happy with how last week went, or should be very happy. And same thing on the Vitagen side.
Yeah, I think I have to add about that 1-1 result. I think when Gucci Yang went 1-1, a lot of people was like a bit of an upset in week 1. This was against Ragnarok. If you looked at the games, it was like game 2. Gucci Yang kind of just threw. They should have won that game too. Uh, this time around against Silver Phoenix, I don't think you could say that that was a throw or like a significant um, slip up from Gucci Yang. I think Silver Phoenix put in a fantastic performance up against one of the SLE strongest rosters, and I think one name in particular, Just Ryan in the jungle, has been someone that has impressed me. And I think if you have conversations around the SLE about this guy, he is a CWL champion. He has been a player that a lot of people are impressed by. And I think personally for me, Just Ryan is going to be one of my players that at the start of the split will go under the radar. He will kind of fall under this category of not many people will really think of him when it comes to breaking into that top tier jungle pool, but slowly as more games get played out, Just Ryan is going to become one of those players that I think we all kind of get used to as being a top of his art. And I think up against Dutch here today, there's no better opponent to come up against to show what you got.
Definitely so. And I mean, Just Ryan, in my opinion, is known for his Wukong. That is at least the champion he tends to play the most. This time around, it's going to be today, I believe, Shanks playing for Silver Phoenix in the jungle and Dutch, like you said, for this out of Vitagen. So it is going to be a little bit different of a jungle matchup today. I'm expecting to see very similar playstyles come out from both sides. Obviously, Dutch is a bit more known in
Oh,
SLE, as long as, I mean, all of Vitagen are known for SLE. These are all, I mean, players that have been
yeah,
around for a long time. This
yeah.
is what is often quoted as the veteran roster. Dutch and Jomi, all of these guys have been around for forever. So it is not going to be as, I feel like, a easy game for Silver Phoenix, and they definitely have
Yeah.
a game on their hands.
Also, I have just realized I think I got my facts wrong. Just Ryan plays for Ragnarok, not for Silver Phoenix. Yeah, Shanks is the Silver Phoenix jungler, and
Yeah.
yeah, my bad. I mean, even still, I think Shanks is I think it's follows along the same lines of conversation. He's been a player that in the Silver Phoenix squad has been seen as a strength, but I think personally, I think yeah, when it comes to talking about this Vitagen squad, you kind of have to look at it, and I think last game they played was a really big example of this. Is if you don't shut their strengths down, and if you don't punish their strong points, and if you let what Vitagen do best kind of go unnoticed, they will completely run you over. I think you have, like for example, I think Ant. There's no better top laner in the league right now when it comes to his insight and his foresight for TP plays. The way this guy can seek out an effective TP, completely turn the tide of a team fight, and then you have the damage like coming out from Saros. You have Jomi, who's going to play extremely solid in the bot lane. And I think there's just a roster here that definitely everyone is looking to beat. This is going to be the standard of the SLE. That being said, Vitagen, we praise them a lot, and I think we rate them so highly. But to be perfectly honest, we're 2 games in, and as much as last game was a dominant stomp, I think their first time round they were missing Ant, but that wasn't looking that I think they lost to 0-2 to one of the teams, Greasy Goblins.
Yeah.
Um, so I think there definitely is angles to exploit this team, and it's just about finding those extremely small and minute ways to punish this Vitagen roster.
Yeah, definitely. So, and Vitagen is, we did talk about them being a historic squad in their players, but so far they haven't had the best of starts. Currently in the standings, they are 10th. Silver Phoenix and Vitagen are both 2-2 at the moment, but there are a lot of teams who are above them at the moment. They are, when it comes to standings, really sort of the bottom 10 at the moment. We do have 21 teams at the moment since Shadow Wizards are no longer playing. So they are the sort of mid pack, which comes a little bit of a surprise being the champions of last split. We sort of expected them to be like top pack, sort of one of the teams that are unbeaten. Currently, those two spots are going to Blazing Pandas and Rebel Links 4-0 at the moment, respectively. But so far, Vitagen have struggled a little bit, and I feel like if there is a chance that they obviously get too old, and if they do, it is gonna be a rough time for them. But what are your predictions for the series ahead of us? Do you think it's gonna be a 2-0 for either side, or do you think we're gonna have a steady 1-1 for us?
Uh, okay. I think I would like to say that I think it's too hard to say. Personally, for me, at this stage of the split, usually if there's not like a completely dominant force, what we often see is teams that have better pre-built synergy will often shine through in the early stages of the split, and then I think just off that, Vitagen, they've been playing together a lot more. I mean, I could be wrong, but Vitagen have been playing together a lot more. They played a whole split. They've only replaced mid and support, which, of course, they were essential parts to the roster last split, but it's not a drastic change in comparison to switching out a whole roster. And I think Silver Phoenix, from what I remember or what I know, they're not a team that they're not a team that have been playing for just the duration of the SLE. They've been playing before. They've come in. I know a lot of their players have played competitive splits before, and I think basically what we're seeing is two teams that have this pre-built synergy coming up against each other. I think just off that, it's really hard to separate the two. So I'm gonna go for a bit of a 1-1 situation here.
You think it's okay? I feel like it's gonna be a 1-1 unless it is gonna be Vitagen who take game one. I feel like if Vitagen take game one, they're gonna take game two as well, just because this is a Vitagen squad that generally tends to run off of momentum. We see it in their playstyle. They like to play fairly aggressively, despite Jomi being on Seraphine for most of the time. They still, through their jungle, like to play aggressively, whether it is Shanks in the jungle or whether it is someone else. They still like to play that hyper aggressive style in the early game. And they are also very adaptable, which means that if they can put out that style for today, if they can sort of play the aggressive style they want to play and take game number one, I feel like they're going to take game number two as well. I wouldn't expect anything less than a 1-1 unless Village take that game one. If they do, it should be a 2-0 for them, but only time will tell, as we have finally gotten into the draft and already a swift Ivern ban coming out of Silver Phoenix. And not at all surprising, Ivern at the moment is a champion that is quite solid, is seen around the meta a lot. It used to be at least the Dark Harvest Ivern, but nowadays it is more so towards that supportive style, something that we saw it paired up with earlier last week, or towards the end of last week. What has been that Zeri, which was the absolute powerhouse of a scaling comp that I believe, if I remember correctly, it was Revel Links who played it out, but could be as well another team. I'm not entirely sure. We do see Ash being taken off the table as well for the side of Silver Phoenix Vitagen. But in that Maokai, Ash has been a champion that has seen a lot of play, in my opinion. I'm still very upset that Firefrost didn't get a chance to continue into the split because he is one of the people who is more pronounced on the Ash than I feel like the rest of the ADCs in the league, and he would have been, I feel like, very good with it as well if he did get a chance to play. Unfortunately, doesn't end up doing so, but it's not gonna be pulled out in this game number one either, as it did get taken away by Silver Phoenix. And on the other side as well, seeing a Kai'Sa
Oh,
Maokai.
my mic was muted.
Ah, I was about to hit you up in the chat, be like, hey, you.
Yeah,
Welcome back, welcome back.
I cracked a bang of joke about both the trees being banned. That's so
Oh.
sad.
It's
Oh,
okay,
well,
man. Like, just say it again, and I'll pretend it's funny.
Hey, vegans, look away because we've banned both the trees in this game.
Oh my, oh my god. Oh.
Alright, I'll just go jump off a bridge.
Cracking time. Already Rel being picked in as well, and already getting the jokes out the way. But what do you think of the draft so far?
I think so far, looking at the bans, I think there's a lot of respect towards the meta. I think Ivan, Maokai, Kai'Sa Jarvan, these are all picks that we're seeing very commonly from pretty much most teams in this current patch, and I think even the picks right now, Vitagen going for that comfort pick of Seraphine, and so I think I honestly I see why they are consistently going for the Seraphine, but I think Vitagen definitely needs to start being careful because teams might genuinely be looking to be like, they're gonna go Seraphine, we're just gonna pick against it. And I think Rel, for example, was a fantastic champion when playing against like champions that can provide a lot of shielding, because Rel Q does break the shields. So potentially Silver Phoenix have done their homework and gone like they will probably pick Seraphine if we leave it open. So let's B1 something that can do decently against it. Vitagen do have the Talia, which I'm not sure if it's flexible. I think in my opinion, Dush is a player that could be able to take it into his hands. So definitely a flexible pick, and you know, we see Tristana Braum, Tristana another flex pick. And honestly, the draft right now is quite interesting because you don't really know what is going where. The only thing that's a given is that Rel is in the jungle and Braum is in support. So, you know, I don't know if Silver Phoenix can flex the Tristana, but if they can, then I really like the pick here. Tristana, really fantastic mid laner right now. You kind of just get priority against most matchups. Even if this is a Tristana into Talia, of course, the E is a bit rough to play against. You can't play hyper aggressive, but you still can shove the wave, roam around, and make plays with the jungle. So, yeah, really like the Tristana pick.
Definitely. So Tristan is a champion that is both good into the Seraphine, and the Talia can get early power, like you said. The Braum is there to, yes, block the Seraphine shield, but I feel like you wanna play aggressive in the early game against the Seraphine if it's down in the bot lane, and Braum doesn't necessarily achieve that. Yes, you have the early game CC, but Braum is a champion that likes to sort of play more so back, play defensive, and play that sort of front to back fight. Nautilus, I feel like, would have benefited them a lot more knowing how proficient Jomi is on the Seraphine. It is sort of a 90% chance that the Seraphine is gonna go down bot lane, so I feel like drafting Nautilus potentially could have been better into the laning phase. You have the Tristana that you can put into the bot lane to play more aggressively as well. So far we are seeing a lot of AD focus for the side of Silver Phoenix. So far no AP targets, but I'm assuming with that Tristana going down into the bot lane with the Braum, it should be an AP mid laner still, and there are still options open. We do still have things like the Sylas, we have still things like the Azir, the Xerath as well, and a lot of sort of those good mid lane mages still on the cards, but it's gonna be Kindred locked in for Vitagen. That is a spicy pick.
Yes, spicy pick, and I mean, at the moment, I can't lie, the Vitagen draft looks quite interesting to me. I think there's a lot of backline right now. We essentially have 3 ranged champions, picking an AP mid laner here is going to be extremely awkward because then you're just opting into triple AP. So what you can do is like obviously put the Talia into mid, and then maybe Seraphine into support, and then pick an ADC here. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's like right now you're limiting mid lane pool. Obviously, he does have R5, so it should be fine in that sense. But yeah, Silver Phoenix will be going for the Xerath. I think picking Xerath here, actually, I don't mind it. The only issue is that against Talia and Rakan, it can be quite scary, but you do have the protection of the Royal, you do have protection of Braum. So what this does signal, Tristana will be headed into the bot lane, and it will be an irrelevant. I know it's going to be the Gnar locked in, which is a really decent pick into this engage, but yeah, Talia plays a key part in this. So I imagine Talia will be going into mid lane because I think you kind of don't want to have triple AP here, but you do also kind of want an AP mid lane.
Yeah, definitely. So and so far we are, like we said, seeing a lot of that AP champions already taken away. Xerath as well. Nafiri is gonna be locked in here, which tells me that should be Nafiri in the mid lane, I would assume, up against the Xerath, which
Yeah.
not entirely sure how that matchup goes, considering Nafiri is a pretty new champion. I would assume with her being an AD assassin type of champion, she should be able to win that in the early game alongside her puppy, so should be fine for us at Vitagen. But so far I feel like Vitagen's draft is a little bit all over the place with the Seraphine, with the Talia, with the Kindred, and Nafiri sort of there. They've got a lot of range, but not a lot
yeah.
of poke necessarily.
So I actually think the Neferi will be going into top lane into the hands of Ant, because like so what I assume they're gonna do is Talia will go mid, Neferi top, Kindred jungle, Seraphine Rakan bot lane, because I think yeah, Neferi mid here against Xerath, you kind of just get out of range. It's not too great. So and also Talia top, I think that's not really a thing. So I think it only makes sense that Talia will go mid. But so yeah, I mean into Gnar, I think Neferi is actually pretty good. Neferi is one of those champs where you can kind of find angles, but I will say in the longer lane can be a bit more difficult because from what I know, it's like if you hit your 2 Qs, that's kind of where you find kill angles. But if you don't hit your 2 Qs, your champion is significantly weaker, and your opponent will get a massive advantage if those don't hit. Now, Ant is a player fantastically capable of punishing his opponents, and when it comes to landing clutch skill shots in the lane, there's not much better to be able to pilot the Neferi into a Gnar. So keep your eyes on top lane to see how he does that. But also, the Sparks top laner, he's got his work cut out for him here. He's up against an Ant on the Neferi, and we've seen the Neferis in solo queue. He kind of looks at you, and suddenly your screen is grey, right? So you can't get this guy fed. If the Neferi snowballs, that's where it gets a little bit dicey. And if I'm kind of looking at both compositions, just as a team, I think Sparks clear win condition. This is sort of just like you kind of want to play front to back. You've got engage, you have peel, you have a top laner who can secondary engage, and you have DPS in your back line. The thing about the Vitagen squad though is that fights will be messy. They don't necessarily have a front line and a back line. You have a Rakan and Neferi who will want to jump in, and you have a Talia, Seraphine, and a Kindred who, Kindred will probably look to play from jumping in, jumping back, bouncing in and out of the fight. You'll have a Seraphine and Talia who play backline. So yeah, the Vitagen team comp, although it is a bit more difficult to execute, I think it's not bad. It's definitely playable, and it's just a little bit niche and a little bit like it's one of those I don't want to say cheese, but it's definitely out of the ordinary.
Yeah, definitely. So it is, I feel like you said, a composition that requires a lot more skill to play. And to me, it is niche, but I don't really see it going that well together. Nafiri isn't exactly known for being the tankiest champion in the world, and you're gonna be running into a Gnar, you're gonna be running into a Tristana, a Xerath. Yes, Xerath is extremely one-shottable. I feel like Jomi's encores are gonna have to be very much on point this game, because if he can land a big ultimate off of Naafiri, if he can land a big combo off of the Rakan without the Braum being able to shield it away, it is gonna do a lot of damage, it's gonna do a lot of hurt, as well as the Lamb's Respite needing to be very much on point against champions like Gnar, against champions like the Xerath. Because if you can get it off in time, and if you can get that sort of kill denial, get that resurrection on time as well, it is gonna make be a big deal against the sort of half engaged comp that Silver Phoenix has to their side. I think this Xerath is gonna play such a huge part for
Mm.
Silver Phoenix. He can outrange 4 out of the 5 champions on the Vitagen side. Obviously, you have that Naafiri, which can just jump the Xerath. But that Xerath is being protected by a Braum, it's being protected by a Rel, it's being protected by a Gnar, if necessary, if Gnar isn't going to be the one doing the engaging. So he can pretty much free fire onto the side of Vitagen. And if Jomi happens to run out of mana, or if he doesn't have the resources and the shields to sort of protect them from the poke on the side of Vitagen, it is gonna be very, very scary to go up against the Xerath, especially if the side of Silver Phoenix can get him a couple of kills in the early game, can get him a little bit of a lead in that mid lane. He's gonna be a pain to deal with.
Yeah, I have to agree, and I think just looking at it, Xerath into Talia is a fantastic matchup. Like, you just completely outrange her. The only thing she can do is kind of make more players around the map. She's got a bit more mobility in terms of roams, but I mean, Xerath can just press R from mid lane, right, and respond to that. So, I think, yeah, I definitely agree. Xerath is the one to watch if you're Silver Phoenix. He will have a lot to play in terms of dealing damage, and there's not really a tanky front line for Vitagen, and up against a Xerath who right now in the meta is dealing so much damage. I think when it comes to artillery mages, he is the best that you can go for, and Vitagen not having a pure tank that can punish that. The raw engage to get through the Rel and Braum from the Rakan just isn't quite enough to reach that Xerath, in my opinion. The only way you're going to have to do that is looking for flanks or looking to punish a bit of a misposition from him. But other than that, this Xerath is a fantastic pick, and he will be able to stand very far back in team fights, almost out of any range of danger. So, yeah, big eyes on him. And it's one thing I noticed about Vitagen, and more specifically last game, is there's something about the way teams target select against Vitagen. I remember there was 1 HP Tristana, and I saw enemy Nocturne ult onto Seraphine instead of finishing Tristana. And then Tristana got like 2 kills off that fight, and then randomly gets 2 pentakills in the rest of the game. So I think if you're Silver Phoenix, you kind of want to look back on that game and be like, because to be honest, watching that game, that was a 100% winnable game for, who was it that they were against? Quantify. That was a 100% winnable game for Quantify, and actually after the early game, I kind of expected Quantify to actually even up the series, because the Astra was performing so good in the actual lane phase. But the problem with Vitagen is that they're such a well-rounded team that you kind of have threats all over the place. But with Silver Phoenix, my advice here is like stick to the plan and make sure you target select the key members of the Vitagen team. And I think more importantly, I want to point out is Dutch, in terms of the SLE, a lot of his success comes on champions that are facilitators. I think if I think some of Dutch's best games, I'm thinking things like the Jarvan, I'm thinking Wukong, I'm thinking Vi, and of course he is a very, very proficient Graves player, but when it comes to these style of jungling and his performances in the SLE, they haven't always been up to scratch. So this would be a fantastic carry jungle check for him, and a good opportunity for him to show the rest of the league that yes, in terms of results, these haven't always been the most successful for me, but I've improved, I've mastered my craft, and yeah, I'm here to show what I can do. And I believe we are in game, but we've been hit with a pause, so I guess we can mess around and ask some crazy questions. Dasa, I have a question.
Yes, my friend.
In a series where it's a best of two and you end up
Hmm.
drawing, would you rather win game one or game two?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, I would preferably win both games, you know. Like, that's the ideal situation, of course. But if you are in a situation where you're sort of, let's say, forced to go 1-1, I feel like I would rather win game two because, in my opinion, game twos are, when it comes to games of like two series, game twos are harder to win. Generally, in League, same thing. I know I bring this up pretty much every time, but same thing in Valorant, same thing in CS:GO. Mentality and momentum is a big thing. If you win game two, you can say, okay, yes, we lost game one, but at least we came back. You know, we won the last game of the day, which is gonna leave you with much better of a feeling winning the last game. It is a little bit of a spectator bug at the moment. If your screen is frozen, it should fix itself any moment now. There you go. But it is a lot better feeling that it's going to leave you with winning that game two compared to winning game one. So I would definitely take game number two if it was up to me.
Yeah, game number two.
What about you? Do you agree? Which game would you rather take?
Oh, game number two for sure, because you end on a win, right? And
Yeah,
I
never
think
another loss.
so. When you win game one and then lose game two, you kind of just sat there like, ah, fuck, that's it. You know, you're kind of like, ah, what? We gotta go again. Come on. As we appear to be having some connection issues. I'm trying to think of other dumb questions to ask you. All right, Dasa. If you could build your all-star SLE roster, but you can't put the players on their main roles, who are you taking?
Ooh, that is. You know who I would go? I would go. I. So this might be a little bit of a throwback to those who were at least participated or were here back then. But do you remember Sovanic's the Ultimate Bravery tournament? That
Yeah,
I believe it was it Dutch who hosted it? Or I don't
I
remember.
believe.
Ah, yeah, Shiki, who hosted it back then. But I and actually was in the squad who ended up winning that thing. I don't remember exactly who I was with,
What is this self promo?
but I
Unbelievable.
I
My guy. There's no way my guy's actually just using this to be like, yeah,
no, no,
I
no,
put
of
myself
course.
in there.
I'd put my ultimate bravery team. That's what I'd put because it was such a good time. And you know, if Sheik is watching, wants to do that again, you know, I'm more than happy to come back and show people how ultimate bravery is meant to be done. But
Yeah.
getting back into the world of League of Legends definitely would be my go-to. And you see both junglers as well starting at opposite sides of the map. But where do you expect the jungle attention to be when it comes to the side of Super Phoenix?
So honestly, I think the thing about Kindred is when you pick this champion, you're kind of saying, I'm going to play aggressive in the early game. I want to look for those marks. I want to look for those kills that I can get in the jungle. When it comes to skirmishing in the jungle itself, in isolation, dueling against your opposite jungle, I think Kindred is one of the best, in the entire pool. You can do, I mean, Dutch hasn't done it this game, but you can do cheeky things like, you do camp into invade into sort of like, I think there's a thing where you do red buff. I mean, they both start on opposite ends, so you can have done it. But there's like a play on Kindred. You do red buff, you jump over the wall, you take Gromp, you take blue, you chill in the bush, you ward, wait for them to come, and you just kill them. So Kindred is one of those champions where you want to look for these kind of plays, these aggressive things, and get your marks. So eyes on Dutch because I think if there's a player that is going to have the confidence to invade and make these aggressive plays, it is going to be him. I think the SLE, jungle style does tend to be very bog standard, very like, oh, I'll just full clear until the first fight, I guess, and then I don't know, engage. Whereas I think Dutch here, he's taking matters into his own hands, and yeah, so eyes on him, and already the crab spawn with the mark is in his favor.
It's very good to see, and I mean, that's a Graves mentality, right? Especially on Graves, like you said, very proficient player at that champion, and Graves' style is just invading permanently in that early game. A little bit of trade on top side.
Yeah, trade on top side as Kimmich Mental is gonna be brought down to low HP. And one thing to notice, you see there the damage out of the Nefiri when he hits both Qs is very, very lethal. So Kimmich Mental, definitely look out for that. And yeah, we can see already Nefiri and Ant putting a big pressure onto the North.
And Nafiri as well as a champion is, of course, relatively new as well. There isn't many people who still, or there is a lot of people who still don't know what this champion necessarily does. So it could be potential advantage for the sort of Vitagen as well towards that top lane when it does come to Ant, because Kimmich Mental is definitely, I doubt he's used to the Gnar matchup. I very much so doubt this is a champion he runs often. I at least don't remember the last time I saw Nafiri in solo queue, like 2 weeks after she was released. So definitely did see a lot of play when she came out. After that, it's been a little bit stale just because it's not a champion that's necessarily very easy to play, has a very unique playstyle with her pets. So definitely it's gonna be interesting to see if Ant can sort of take over that top lane with the first strike he has. Definitely wants to trade aggressively whenever that is up. We already saw earlier, Kimmich Rental dropped a little bit low there. Up towards the top lane was definitely in a precarious situation, to say the least, but you can already see the sheen in Kimmich Mental's inventory as well as Ant having that serrated Dirk, and both of these top laners gonna be outputting already ton of damage when it comes to this early game. But Dutch does already have that mark behind him, and that 4 marks is realistically what you want to hit on the Kindred. That is when you get the sort of biggest buff when it comes to the early mid game. So that is what most likely what he's gonna be aiming towards to get there as fast as he can.
Yeah, very, very, very good insight indeed. And I think, just on the Neferi thing, you don't want to let this guy get too far ahead. And we can already see the CS lead is building, and this will amount to something significant if it carries on this way. And actually, oh my god, I gotta respect Tough Habity there. Well, look at what he's
Yeah.
done for his bot lane wave. Speaking of, I have to say, leads the mid lane right now. General Demo, he's got a bit of a farm lead, looking like around 10 CS, which already is fantastic for the Xerath. I think Talia has evolved in recent times. Usually, or like before, she was a champion where early game you were able to shove in waves a lot. This time around, not too much late early game damage, and I'm gonna have to stop myself there as Kimmich Mentor. You are getting jumped on Ant, using the W to start the fight, and is forcing the flash. It's just gonna be a trade of flashes, so not too bad if you are Kimmich Mentor as Silver Phoenix. We'll look at that play in the top lane and go for the dragon.
Kimmich Mental played that pretty well, actually. Like you said, trading flashes up to the top side. Herald not gonna be up yet, which means it is gonna be a free dragon for the side of Filbur Phoenix. And not only that, it is an ocean dragon, which is regarded as one of, if not the best, first drakes to get. Obviously, depending on the comp you're against, but there is a lot of long range damage. On the side of Vitagen, you have the Talia poke, you have the potential Seraphine poke as well, and has been trading very aggressively up towards the top side, which does mean that Kimmich Mental is going to benefit hugely from that Ocean Drake, having that extra region as well. It is going to be traded by some camps up towards the top side. Dutch is going to decent invade up there and is potentially looking for a dive, actually. You can see him set up on the bush, and with this wave coming in, Kimmich Mental could be in trouble up in this top side.
Yeah, it could be in trouble, but Dutch seeing Shanks in the horizon, meaning that is the retreat button. The Q is going to land. Dutch actually in trouble here. So the Magnet Storm is going to drop down. Dutch using the Kindred on to try and get away. Shanks is going to follow the flash. Dutch brought to 1 HP. He is going to have to run for his life. Does not quite get the kill, Shanks, but is going to get jumped on by Saros. But the Talia just isn't quite strong enough. The combo is going to land, but that's just about it. So a lot of tools used on the side of Vitagen. And Shanks is going to be the solo reason bringing Kimmich Mental away to safety against the dive.
3 ultimates used from both sides respectively, and both teams just, you can see the team play came through already. We saw earlier, and we mentioned earlier how good Vitagen is as a team, as a fight, as a squad, and you could just see it right there. Such a quick response from both Dutch, from both sides. You can saw the Weaver's wall came very, very early to try and get Shanks. Obviously, with Rel, you can just hop over that wall. Combo landed, yes, but just not having enough damage on that Talia, on Saras to come through with the damage. They will get some pace out of that with Dutch coming out of base, which does mean this Herald should go over to their side, and it should be interesting to see which way this does end up going. I will expect it to go either to the top lane or the mid lane, as Seraphine is just going to be sort of bin chilling down towards that bot side, but Dutch is going to pick himself up an early Herald here in trade for the Drake.
Yeah, early Herald picked up, and you can see kind of where the priorities
Indeed.
lie. And Jomi is going to be under threat. Does not have the flash, so Shanks will commit to this. The Encore is being used, but it's only being used to use for his death. And that is going to be first blood going over to Silver Phoenix. It does fall into the hands of the Braum, but nonetheless, you're going to be very, very happy with that.
Deki up towards that top side, saw what he could try to do for his team, wasn't there to help out Jomi when he just tried to defend his own jungle. Now in the bot lane River, we do have a fight on our hands.
Yeah, fight indeed, and Saras Deki taking the 2 versus 2 against the Silver Phoenix mid jungle, but it's not going to amount to much. Shanks on the rail, quite a chunky being, and what we can see is Dodge has slowly been racking up the marks. I believe he is on 2 right now, and potentially looking for an invade, and this is exactly what you want to see from your Kindred, but Dutch will have to be careful. Doesn't have the sums. General Demo is gonna try to supply some aid to his jungler, but Dutch is playing this very, very well, invading extremely efficiently. And every time I've kind of seen him run into Shanks' top side and taking everything he possibly can. One thing I definitely want to see is Shanks responding to this and heading into his own bot side. You do have the priority. I think. Yeah, I was kind of touching on something with the priority lands for both teams and Pops. The ultimate gonna jump in onto Kimmich. Mental doesn't have the mana, misses the second Q, but the bleed is gonna be enough, and that's the power of the Neferi if you hit the Qs. Yeah, Ant jumping under the enemy turret and getting himself a solo kill.
Disgusting damage coming through. That was beautiful timing from Ant. You could see he was waiting, just hovering around, and as soon as Kimmich Mental goes back into that mini Gnar form, loses that tankiness, becomes a squishy little Gnar, and just immediately pops the ultimate, pops his buttons, presses go, 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 and just kind of one-shots Kimmich Mental, damage
Yeah.
coming out of nowhere, and not much you can do if you're Kimmich Mental there. Neferi has so much range when it comes to that W, being point and click as well, and having no allies around to block it when you are alone in that top lane means that it is a free meal for Ant, and already having that Eclipse in his inventory. And you were talking about earlier how if this Neferi gets out of control, it could be a little bit hard to deal with, as Shanks is going to go for an aggressive invade down to the bot side.
Yeah, down on bot side, aggressive invade. Deki lands 2 with the Rakan engaged, but Shanks responding with the Rel, and the Xerath ultimate is gonna land from far away, but Dutch is doing too much damage. It's traded 1 for now. The Xerath has arrived in range to land the spells, but at the moment, the fight looks like it's going to be left in the favor of Vitagen as they take down 2 and only lose 1 in the process. So Vitagen will take the kill lead into their hands. And wow, very early aggression coming out, and we saw fantastic engage started out by Deki, responded there with Shanks, and Ant is going for another play. This time Kimmich Mental is able to flash away and brought to execute range. He's going to try to get the recall off here. We'll see if Kimmich Mental will respond to this, but we get the highlight here, and take us through this.
Looking at the replay, you can see the quickness immediately gets popped. Grand entrance is good. A good block coming through from Topa there on the Encore, and the Magnet Storm just not enough. There is no damage on the side of Silver Phoenix quite yet, and like you said, Dodge just tears through the side of Silver Phoenix, and the big winner out of that is gonna be Dodge. He's the one who picked up the mark off of Shanks, which should mean that this is his 3rd mark. 1 more mark to hit that fabled 4 marks, and he's never mind. He's already there. He's hit the 4 marks, which means he's got that range extender. He's got that extra damage coming through, and once he picks up his first item on this base, as I expect it to come through right now, there it is. Kraken Slayer is gonna be picked up. This is gonna be a very, very scary top side coming through. Double Mythic on top lane, on mid lane. Dutch having that Kraken Slayer is gonna do so much damage with those marks as well. We were talking about Silver Phoenix, how they have the range with that Xerath, but if you have that range, you need to use the range as well, and kind of just running into the death ball of Vitagen just is gonna get you killed.
Yeah, keep your eyes on the aspect of
Oh.
death as Dutch is. Oh gosh, that's rough. Yeah, you have to feel for Shanks. It's been unfortunate, but you are playing Rel into a Kindred and you're not getting much support from your team. Ant's gonna pop the ultimate. Shanks left her run. He's gonna get the jump on the jungler of Silver Phoenix. There is no response from Kimmich Mental. And this is one of those things where you're a jungler and you're just kind of like, what is going on? But actually, we see on the bot side, Saros roams into the bot lane and the kill actually goes into the hands of Allegatia on the Tristana. So, fight's happening. And if you're Vitagen, yes, you're winning on the top side. But at the moment, this Tristana is building up to be a bit of a threat. So, you know, eyes on that. But nonetheless, you know, as I was saying, Dutch and Ant, both of them proving and building up to be a threat. Decky jumps in from the fog of war, but it's just going to be the retreat button for Topavity as that will be it. And yeah, a lot of action happening on both sides of the map.
I have to question how that ends up happening. Soros, like,
Oh, there actually is
my
an engage,
God.
and Topavity is going to get the final kill on to Decky, but General Demo, look at the damage the Xerath is already doing. He's gone for the Luden's Echo due to the fact that there is no tank on the enemy team, and we see the burst that comes from this Xerath, and yeah, you touched on a bit. The Xerath is going to be so difficult to deal with for some of these members for Vitagen.
And going back to my earlier point, I have to question how Saros is over there. Had to burn the TP, and I think there was just no follow-up after he TP'd in. I'd like to believe he just TP'd into expected bot lane. Dutch, I do believe, got the free scuttle
That is
there.
rough.
Just Shanks is just getting. He's just not having a
Yeah.
good time. Dutch just keeps walking over his camps, and as well taking away his blue buff is not an ideal situation. Just, oh my god,
Oh my
he's just
lord.
dead. He's
Yeah, he is just dead. And Ant is really putting on a clinic up against Kimmich Mental here. And I mean, you really have to respect the guy in the top lane here. You know, we all have been saying this is the man to beat. This is the guy that you definitely want to keep your eyes on. And if you don't respect him, he will put in a performance like this. And Kimmich Mental, you were picked. You know, you were given the Gnar. I guess in a way, you were put in a rough position because you had to blind it, but. Yeah, definitely not a performance to remember so far. He can bring it back, and you know, eyes on him to make some plays in the team fights. But right now, Ant is definitely getting the upper hand.
Most certainly. So already 2-0 Eclipse completed. Gonna be outputting so much damage in these fights. And Dutch, at this point, he's just living in Shanks' jungle. Shanks is just not getting anything out, even gets the Gromp away on the Kindred. Should look for an engage here. Does end up having to flash out there, which is a big cooldown burned. And Dragon is only up in a minute, so he's not gonna have it up for the Dragon fight, nor the potential Baron fight, if it is gonna be a 20-minute Baron coming out. And it is... And
Yeah, Ant is gonna be on the run against Kimmich Mental, but look at the damage from the Neferi. The nobody's going. Until going to fall down. The 1v1 goes into the favor of Kimmich Mental. There's a fight in the mid lane as well. The Seraphine gets knocked up by the Braum. The stun lands as well. Here comes Shanks onto Decky. Saros and Decky on the run. Allegation jumps forward. The stun is gonna land, and a double kill for the Tristana.
Silver Phoenix finally hit back. They found their answer, and their answer is Allegacia 4-0 on this Tristana, and Kimmich with a fantastic outplay up towards that top side, and just overstepping a little bit there. Kimmich Mental being at the brink of death and gets his Kled moment, so to speak, just transforms on the right time. The Fury bar fills up, and looking back at the replay, I'm so glad we get to see this again, because such tight margins on this top side, and Kimmich just transforms in time, and in the mid lane fight, as well just goes to the way of Silver Phoenix. A bit of an over-engage from Deki, not having his team behind him, not having the encore on Jomi means that he just gets absolutely popped. Alagacia just gets the reset as well. Soros goes down with the Braum passive, and Silver Phoenix found a way back into this game. They've finally hitting back as we get into another fight out of the replay.
Yeah, another fight. Alligator gets jumped on, and this could be a shutdown onto the Tristana. The whole Vitagen squad is here. Dutch looking for more as he jumps behind the enemy lines. Anton Dutch, the threats of the Vitagen squad are here to punish the side of Silver Phoenix. Kimmich Mental forced to flash away as the Narbar isn't quite racked up here. It is ready to go, but I think that's just going to be the emergency button as the retreat is being started. And so much action here. And yeah, I think potentially Silver Phoenix overstaying their welcome as we see the shutdown going over to Vitagen, and more importantly the shutdown of Alligator. And that was a lot of gold that Vitagen potentially just picked up. Hell being popped into the bottom lane, but look at General Demo's damage already onto the Seraphine, and there potentially is a chase, and this time around it will be Vitagen running away. But more importantly, Dragon Soul Point for Silver Phoenix.
Silver Phoenix are the big winners there. Yes, it is a Cloud Drake, it is a Cloud Soul, but imagine a Cloud Soul on a Rel, on a Gnar, on even a Braum. This could potentially be very useful for the side of Silver Phoenix. And on the side of Vitagen, it is all about denying that Elder. If they need to stall that Elder Dragon, buy some time for this Kindred to scale up, buy some time for the Seraphine to scale up mainly, as Shanks is going to have a questionable W there over the wall, isn't going to quite reach the blue buff, but is going to be able to pick himself up this time. Dutch isn't going to be able to collect that one, and Shanks gets it for free. Kimmich Mental finally decides to help out his jungler a little bit there, but it is just slowly scaling. On the side of Vitagen, you can see the needlessly large rod in both Saras and Jomi's inventory, and Jomi is going to be the big ticket when it comes to dealing with General Demo. Like you said earlier, General Demo with this Lunas, they may be outputting so much damage onto the back end of Vitagen. They need Jomi to have these AP items. They need him to have the shield power to be able to withstand the damage, and even then, General Demo is just going to be able to cut through that as well. The more items he gets, the more damage he does.
Shanks lands a big engage, and that's going to be onto Deki. He is left to dash away with his life, and that's not going to amount to anything. But we see one adaptation I have to respect from Shanks. You are getting a bit shafted in your jungle, and the best thing to do here, you kind of just turn into the second support of your team. Look for plays on the map, and you know, we got the Radiant Virtue coming up from the rail. I think that's normal, but I'm just trying to follow a storyline here. Don't judge me. And yeah, we see Shanks going for a bit of a secondary support after the rough early game. Baron being started up. This is going to be a key moment, a game essential play, you could almost imagine. Keep your eyes on summoners because there are no flashes available for Vitagen, but a few coming up shortly. We're going to have to keep your eyes on General Demo. How much damage can he do into the approach of this fight? Tapavity walking up and taking a bit of a chunk. Deki is also going to do the same. The combo lands onto Alligator, so the chunk is there. Xerath ultimate right to the arcane is not going to do too much as Shanks is the first to fall. Look at the damage coming out of the Kindred. The stun lands though. Dutch having to pop the Kindred ultimate, keeping himself alive, but it's going to be just on the edge of life and death. Tapavity brought to 1 HP. Alligator jumping aggressively, but that's not the jump you want to do. There goes the Sarah shield, keeping Saras alive, and is going to jump into the enemy turret. Here comes Kimmich Mental. Can he be the difference maker in this fight? Saras doing so much damage, flashing forward, but is going to be the one to fall. General Demo doing the damage and landing the spells on the back line. Kimmich Mental does not have the Narbar to follow this up, and it's just going to be that. A lot of trades going down for both teams. No objectives going to be picked up, but this came when the Baron was started by Silver Phoenix, and response from Vitagen in the end. It was so even in terms of a fight, but Vitagen will come out as the benefactor.
At the end of the day, it's just a 1-for-1, but Vitagen are still the big winners out of that. Get the tier 1 in the mid lane, get some big cooldowns from the side of Silver Phoenix, and I have to question the Silver Phoenix decision making there. They start the Baron, but it's a 4v5. Kimmich Mental is nowhere to be seen, no Mega Gnar available, which means Vitagen just get free ticket to completely run over them. Shanks ends up falling, and Dutch could be in trouble here in the mid lane. It's gonna just walk on past with the range he has, but so far it has been Alagacia with the big plays, and they just need to play more together on the side of Silver Phoenix. But it is Ant looking for stability here, and a lot of damage coming out from both of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have to be critical
Baron,
about.
though.
I kind of have to be critical of the confidence of Silver Phoenix, as Baron is going to get started up by Vitagen. Dutch on the Kindred will shred this extremely quickly. And we see Silver Phoenix, the priority is going to be the soul. So they will pick that up. The right of the Arcane is going to be attempted to go for the steal, but it won't amount to anything. And Vitagen will be happy to trade the Baron for the Dragon Soul. The only thing now, Silver Phoenix, this Baron buff is a one Baron buff that you're definitely going to need to survive. And if you can survive this Dragon Soul will be worth. But Vitagen, now, eyes on you to see how much you can achieve with this Baron.
The big objective is the mid lane tier 2. That is what they want. That is what they should be playing for with this Baron. Yes, you can play for these other side lane towers as well, but if you get that mid tier 2, it'll open up the map so much for your team. I would love to see a 1-3-1 coming out. You can see both Saros and have that teleport available. Now, yes, Saros isn't necessarily the most safe person in a side lane against things like the General Demo just because of the raw damage he can output. But if Saros can just Baron buff up those minions, if he can just wave clear, he can still create pressure. Having that TP up and having the triple TP on the side of Vitagen means they are very flexible when it comes to this Baron. They can use it in a lot of ways. They can have that mobility around the map with Jomi, with Saros, with Ant, having all of those teleports up. You can already see Ant towards that bot lane hammering down on that bot lane tier 2, and Vitagen are just so scared right now. Dutch is so fed 202, having that Triforce, having that Kraken's there, having so many marks as well means that he's gonna be such a dangerous Kindred, and you can see Ant hammering down on that bot tier 2 already just shy of getting it taken down, and that mid tier 2 still untouched. But General Nemo has so much wave clear on the Zerath, even through Baron buff minions. It's gonna be a hard thing to get through, as it's gonna be a chunk onto Deki. Oh my god. The
Yeah.
damage.
The damage is big coming out from the Zerath, and if we look at the carries and who's strong on both teams, it's essentially Dutch and Ant up against General Demio and Allegation, and it's gonna basically this is the argument: is bot side or top side more OP? I'm joking, but yeah, I think this game is on a knife's edge, and you can see Vitagen looking to play as aggressive as possible. But yeah, I kind of need to touch again on my point earlier of like, it seems like Silver Phoenix are playing way too scared. And obviously now it might be a little bit too late, and you can't, punish these players as well as you could have earlier. But I'm gonna stop myself there. As Kimmich Mental is gonna get jumped on by Saros. Here comes the combo. It's not gonna land too effectively, but Dutch is gonna get the final kill as killing spree for the Kindred. So this is gonna spell the push for Vitagen. The combo lands onto 2. Allocation left to run. Shanks being brought to lower HP as well, but the engage flashes forward. Look at the combo. General Demo gets the first kill of the fight for Silver Phoenix, and it's going to be 1-for-1 trade so far. Silver Phoenix will head to the fountain to regenerate. Here comes Anton the Neferi. It's going to jump in, but is not going to get the final kill. Execution doesn't quite find its mark, as the carries from Silver Phoenix is going to stay alive, but down goes the Rel. That's another frontliner down. Vitagen will keep pushing forward, but it's going to be the end of their push, and successfully they do get the inhibitor, and Vitagen now in prime position to close this game out.
Vitagen are just so far ahead as a team. Shanks got a really good stun, a really good magnet storm on 3 people there in that team fight, and even then there's just no follow-up from the side of Silver Phoenix. General Demo, yes, he's on 2 items, but he does damage from range. He's getting none of this poke in before the fight gets started from the side of Silver Phoenix. We talked about how useful Xerath can be with outranging the entire comp of Vitagen, but if you don't get those kill shots in before Shanks or Kimmich makes an engage, then you're sort of just sitting there like, guys, I can't really do anything, because the side of Vitagen just does so much damage that you can absolutely shred this well. You can absolutely shred Kimmich Mental, and outside of the top lane play that we saw earlier, we haven't really seen this Gnar, I feel like, be that influential, be that useful that side of Silver Phoenix wanted. Of course, with the counter pick being a Vitagen side, they were the ones who were in control of that top lane matchup. But even then, Gnar, you can do a lot on our towards the later stages of the game. Having the Trinity Force as well, he does decent amount of damage, but facing up against Ant has just been too much for him in game number 1, and it's gonna be interesting to see what sort of adaptations they make in game number 2, because it's gonna be really hard to come back from a 6,000 gold deficit, especially against the good scalers onside Vitagen, Kindred, Seraphine, Talia, all these champions, as well as the Nafir. We've seen how much damage he does to especially Kimmich Mental on that side lane. Kimmich Mental can't 1v1 and in any sense of the word, he just gets absolutely shredded, and it's gonna be so hard to kill this side. The kills might be even, it might be 9-9, but it just doesn't feel like that. It feels like Vitagen are in complete control of this game.
Yeah, definitely has to. You kind of have to sit back and admire what Vitagen have been doing, and more importantly, this comes back off two of their star players. Dutch and Ant was really in control of this game, and it came from them that this lead and this pure brute force that they are able to do. And I think if we take a look at the other side of the map, these guys are the supporting characters, and it's great to see that they're able to hold their own whilst Dutch and Ant were building up their leads. But I have to say, once again, Silver Phoenix, the safety in which they were kind of playing up against the weaker members of Vitagen with a really fed Tristana was definitely one of those things like, if this game does continue the way it does and Vitagen take this one, go into that second game with confidence. Don't be scared. You were definitely fighting up against this Vitagen powerhouse in the early game, and yeah, definitely something for Sparks to stay in this game. And Topavity is gonna get jumped on. Here comes Ant, gonna be jumped on. The combo does land, and it's gonna be a big encore that lands onto 2. Shanks and Kimmich Mental are left to run. Here goes the Neferi puppies down into the enemy turret. I was gonna make dog noises, but I stopped myself. Kimmich Mental jumped forward, and I have to say, this Gnar has been everything but a useful member for Silver Phoenix, as he's kind of just been a bystander. The Elder Dragon is going to get started up, and this is why you take Baron over the Soul, because now you've pushed out the waves. Kimmich Mental is going to jump forward, but not going to do absolutely anything. Silver Phoenix with the most peculiar dragon contest I've ever seen in my life, as they all just one by one enter the fight, and down they go. Vitagen now, you have to feel, going to enter the final stage of this game, pushing down the bot lane of Silver Phoenix's base. Well,
Pure desperation play coming out from Silver Phoenix. A bit of a questionable engage, yeah, but it's an engage they had to do. It was never gonna get any better for them. If this Elder went to their Vitagen, they're gonna take the game, and you can see them trying to push into their base, trying to end this game right here, right now.
Ending the game indeed, and look what a performance coming out from the star jungler of Vitagen. This is why he's been rated so highly. Dutch 6-0-4 on the Kindred, and what can the Silver Phoenix players do? They are just left to watch. The engage comes in from Shanks. Is it too little too late? The first kill going over to Allegation, but it's just gonna be consolation. Look at Dutch dumping forward, popping the Zhonya's to keep himself alive. Allegation doing what he can, but it's not gonna be enough, as the next is going to be the target. Game 1 going over to Vitagen.
Vitagen taking game 1 in a pretty dominating fashion after that mid and late game. The early game, I feel like you were definitely right. It did go a little bit the way of Silver Phoenix, but after Dutch really got off in that mid game, in that late game on the Kindred, he was pretty unstoppable towards after he got those 4 stacks, after he got that buff, and just a great game for Vitagen all around. Great game from every members, and I have to question, on the side of Silver Phoenix, was the Gnar the choice? Because I didn't really see anything coming out of Kimmich that game.
Yeah, it just wasn't quite the one, and I think sometimes against big players that you want to show up against, you kind of take the duels and you kind of take the fights. But I think if you're Gnar here, you supply some support to your team and just try and win out some of these team fights. But yeah, he was kind of nowhere to be seen. But more importantly, I think I definitely want to see Silver Phoenix take the fight, because we saw how aggressive Vitagen were playing with the Kindred and the Neferi, but they played as if Tristana wasn't extremely fed. And we saw Silver Phoenix also play as if their Tristana wasn't extremely fed. And it's like, if you're Silver Phoenix, you're kind of going into this and going like, why did we play so scared when our mid jungle was so ahead? Or why did we keep contesting these top lane plays when we could have just, continued diving bot lane? We dove the Seraphine, it worked, and we never did it again, kind of thing. It's like this is the difference between the great and good, because we saw Dutch repeating those plays that worked, and it's all about consistency, rinse and repeat, because that's how you build the leads. What we saw from Silver Phoenix was great in the bot lane, but they did it once and then just went back into top lane to try and salvage something that wasn't salvageable. And instead, the optimal play there, you just go bot lane and build the lead on the other side. But we'll see the adaptations going into the second game. But is there a break that's scheduled?
Should be. I feel like we will have one in a moment, and that Braum was, in my opinion, the wrong choice. They had to be aggressive in that early game against the Kindred. You have to expect Dutch to play aggressive. I would have liked to see an Nautilus, something that has a bit more setup in the early game. Yes, Braum does have that, but like I said, tends to be a bit more of a passive champion in the early stages, and he's more of when it comes to that late game. And that's where he really unlocks himself. But like you said, we are gonna be taking a little bit of a break before we get into it. We have to get our things set up and make sure that all the players are ready for this game number 2 to see if Silver Phoenix can strike back or where it is gonna be a Vitagen dominated day. Don't go anywhere, guys. We're gonna be right back.
Just counting all the ways I died. Everything I couldn't save, buried down, still half alive. It's got me crawling in my skin, but no one's coming out to hold me close. Pouring out the gasoline, yeah, I've been making friends with all these girls, and I got nothing left to lose. Fight to the future. It's not me to turn and run. Met the bitter truth and I choked it down. Left a bad taste on my tongue, but my appetite's been growing now. I can see you crawling in your skin, but no one's coming out to hold you close. I'm pouring out the gasoline, so say hello to all my ghosts.
Welcome back, peeps and players. No, it's pimps and players. What's up, guys? Welcome back, pimps and players. Welcome back to another Bro Fresco video. We're back with game 2. It is Vitagen against a Silver Phoenix. You know, I read the name and I keep saying Sparks.
I've noticed. It's okay. Minor issues.
It's
we
fine.
take it.
It is what it is.
Copium, but
anyway, yeah, so we see early bans coming out. There is no ban towards the Kindred, so you know, Silver Phoenix probably not thinking that was too much of a threat, but the Seraphine will be the target for them. And already there is an adaptation in the draft. Jeremy will not have that Seraphine, and I actually have to say, when I haven't seen him on the Seraphine, it has not gone well for him at all, and I bring my mind back to their first game where like he was on Caitlyn or something, and I remember him. No, I think it was the second game. Sorry, against Quantify, and you know, respectfully, Quantify not a top tier team, and he Jeremy on the Caitlyn was. I think they were getting 2v2'd in bot lane by Quantify bot lane. So yeah, definitely, yeah, Silver Phoenix a really good shout to take that Seraphine off. And Nocturne ban as well.
yeah, definitely some adaptations coming through. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit confused why teams are still letting Dromi play Seraphine, because the Vitagen have already shown that a Seraphine essentially for them is a, if it's open, we're gonna take it no matter what type of pick. So it is good to see that it is finally being banned away, finally being taken away. It did take Silver Phoenix a game to understand that, but nonetheless, they did do it eventually. It is going to be the Jarvan first pick for the side of Vitagen, a very good champion at the moment, pretty OP, even some might even dare to say, especially after Spear of Sojin didn't get as much of a nerf as we thought it would. It is still a very good item, especially on things like the Jarvan, who like their engage cooldowns, like the fly and drag on a lower CD, so definitely tends to be picked up a lot on him as well. Being responded to by the Ezreal Makai, both very high priority champions, or sort of champions that you can pretty much pick very early on into drafts without having too much consequence or having too much potential for a counter pick. Makai still a champion that, granted, hasn't been flexed into the support role for quite a while. I would have to think back a pretty long time to think of when it was last done, but tends to be more towards that jungle nonetheless. You can still go with it towards that support lane, but it is less seen nowadays. Ezreal as well being a very good blind up towards that, down towards that bot lane. Sorry, you can just sort of leave him on his own if you want to send a Makai over to roam, but you can definitely fight early game on the Ezreal if you can get those passive stacks in. You have a lot of attack speed, you have a lot of damage in the early game if you can get those small little skirmishes. But so far we are seeing a Ashe Nautilus bot lane from Vitagen, a very good early game bot lane, and there's the Nautilus I wanted to see in game number 1, but it is this time gonna be on the Vitagen side, and it is good to see Jomi on something other than Seraphine, but we'll see how it works out for the Vitagen squad.
Yeah, Nautilus, very good pick into Ezreal, and I kind of want to touch on this Jarvan pick because Jarvan is being prioritized by a lot of teams. He has gone through a sort of a meta boost. He's been pushed up into a top tier pick, but I actually personally think be wanting it. I mean, I was speaking to A's, who's a good Ian's coach, and me and him kind of agree that Jarvan's a little bit bait because you know what can happen here, and I'll talk about Vitagen's adaptation into what to say and why it's good, but yeah, in general with the Jarvan, it's like you pick the Jarvan and it makes the enemy sort of hit that trigger in the head of like, all right, my options here are basically Ezreal and Zeri, who are two fantastic AD carries in the meta right now. So I think in general, B1ing Jarvan can be okay, and especially if you're a player like Dutch, I'm sure you can take that into your hands and always make it work. But yeah, so not as good as other people may think for me, but I think what I really like here is the Nautilus being picked into Ezreal, because you know, you just pop the R, it follows Ezreal E anyway, and he's gonna, I mean, if that chase doesn't follow, he's gonna spend a lot of that fight just running away. You know, more importantly, Nautilus, Jarvan, and Ashe, a lot of good follow-up with those three. So Vitagen already, the first 3 picks, building out a very nice, well-rounded team composition. The only thing I will say is Silver Phoenix, you guys, it's all about reading the draft, and you know, one important metric when it comes to being a good team is being able to look into what the enemy team are doing in the drafting phase, because right now Vitagen's team comp is it's right there. I don't think they're going to be able to sway this draft into anything else but a sort of a layering composition where each member follows up on each other's engage, and Azir is a fantastic champion to be picked into that. So yeah, Silver Phoenix, you know, the enemy team comp is spelled out there for you, and we're gonna see what the response is.
Should be interesting to see. Is gonna give counter pick over towards the top lane on the side of Silver Phoenix. We did see the Xerath being taken away, and Saros obviously one of the champions that he's very proficient on, and one of the reasons he did end up getting team of the week last week as well. 12 on 1 on 8 in his best game on that Xerath, so not at all surprised to see that ends up being the second, or in the second banning phase, coming out of the Silver Phoenix's side. We see a couple of top bans as well, Orin being a very, very popular champion at the moment to sort of just take up towards that top side and just go ahead and bin chilling, as they say, and definitely with having counter pick on the side of Silver Phoenix as well wants to limit some of those options. But okay, so it is gonna be the Gwen locked in, which makes me a little bit surprised to see the Ornn and Malphite both being banned away. Gwen generally is very good into tankier champions. Things like the Xante is generally picked into things like the Ornn as well. So I'm a little bit confused why you would ban away tankier champions if you're gonna pick a champion that has max health, damage, and true damage. But Gwen being locked in here for Vitagen is going to be responded to by a Jax, and Jax, a champion I haven't seen in a while, but should be good aids and a solid fighter into that Gwen towards the top side.
If I'm getting my knowledge right, Jax is a fantastic pick into Gwen, one that can punish Gwen a lot, and I think in general blinding Gwen not usually what a lot of top laners would do, but and he's got a lot of confidence. I know what a confident player this guy can be, and yeah, he's gone for the Gwen last game, and then the Fury put in a fantastic performance, and yeah, really important. You touched on that Xerath ban because Saros, fantastic Xerath player, and Silver Phoenix looked pretty keen to go with the Azir. I think when it comes to unplayable matchups for Azir, Xerath, Akali, these are the two champions that come to mind that make it extremely difficult for the Azir. I'm an Azir connoisseur myself. I'm sad to see no one's adapting to learning Vel'Koz with the Azir being more prominent in the meta. Vel'Koz really good pick into Azir, but nonetheless, Saros did go for the Victor. I actually think Victor not the best into Azir because you kind of. In a way, it's not bad. It's a lot better than old versions of Azir, this matchup. But the problem with it right now is Azir can kind of outscale you in a certain way, and his late game DPS will just be more than yours. Usually, when you're picking into Azir, you want to pick something that can either pressure him in early game or match his scaling. So things like the Kassadin, things like Corki, things like Kale, not Kale. Castle and Corki Xerath, basically, if you're looking to match scaling, and then in terms of lane oppression, there's like Akali, LeBlanc, Zed, etc. So, Victor not traditionally one of the most common picks into Azir, but it's one of those skill matchups where if you're Victor, it depends how much advantage you can get based off how oppressive you are on the champion in the laning phase. So, I'm very curious to see because, a lot of people will snooze fest at this matchup, but I think it's really interesting to watch. So yeah.
I was just about to bring up how much of a snooze fest mid lane was gonna be, but now that you said that, I don't know if I can with a good conscience necessarily bring that up. But I still think it's gonna be less so the lane we look at. I think more so our attention is gonna be up towards the top lane, up towards the bot lane. I love this top lane matchup. I think Jax is, like you said earlier, such a good pick into Gwen. And it's gonna be interesting to see how Silver Phoenix is gonna be able to pilot. Is gonna be Kimmich mental, obviously, on that Jax, and a good top laner in his own right, but facing up against a powerhouse like Ant is not gonna be an easy task, even if the matchup is in your favor. Counter Strike is gonna be a very useful tool to block out those Gwen autos as well. Alongside her getting the attack speed from her E means that she does have those faster autos. So it is good. It is good to see, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Counter Strike gets used up towards the top side of the map. This mid lane, I don't expect too much action there. Both Victor and Azir are completely fine, just scaling up, just sort of bin chilling in towards that mid lane, unless we get some jungle attention, which I wouldn't expect. So it is gonna be our cameras mainly on the top line and in this bot lane. You mentioned already earlier how good Ashe Nautilus is into that Ezreal, and I definitely would agree. Ashe as well as a champion at the moment is just very solid and just a very versatile champion as well. You can use your ultimate for pick, you can use your ultimate for sort of self-defense or engage, and a lot of just sort of ways to play around with the Ashe, as well as a couple of different builds. The two builds we have seen have been sort of the Triforce and the Ginsus. Generally tends to be either one or the other. Ginsu's more so for the DPS if you need that extra damage on your back. And it's going to be interesting to see what on the side of Vitagen they end up opting in for this time around. Is going to be Jomi on that Ashe. So something else than the Seraphine, and definitely a different playstyle as well. And the Jarvan having a lot of power in the early game, and I would expect most of that power to be expended down towards this bot lane. A lot of setup there on the Nautilus and this top lane as well. If you can influence that Gwen, if you can get the Gwen a couple of early kills, an early lead into the Jax, it could sway the top side matchup for the side of Vitagen into their favor, even if it is a favoring matchup up towards Silver Phoenix. So gonna be interesting to see how on the side of Vitagen they're gonna be able to use that onto their advantage and see if it's the way that Dutch is gonna go, or whether Dutch is gonna go more so towards Jomi and Decky this game.
Yeah, I think I can expect a very slow early game, and there's gonna be. I mean, if you're Dutch, kind of the angles you can play for is bot lane and potentially even top lane if Kimmich Mental is gonna play hyper aggressive. And I think off the back of the first game, Kimmich Mental, you're definitely gonna want to put in a better performance than you did. I think this is kind of the kind of game that you can make a statement in. Is like you're up against the best top laner in the league right now, and if you're Kimmich Mental, you come off that first game, you did have that one highlight moment, so you do have it in you, and you kind of just need to believe in yourself and try your best to push forward for this lead, and you've got the matchup to do it in. So eyes on him to see if he can do that, and more importantly, if you're Silver Phoenix here, how can you respond from that first game? Because in that first game, I think what I saw was Silver Phoenix were not like okay. If you take a look at some of the late game fights, it looks like Vitagen just completely Goomba stomped them the whole game. Whereas that was just not the case. Silver Phoenix were in that fight. They were playing extremely well up until the point where it was just a little bit too little too late. And I just kind of want to see, I hope to see at least that Silver Phoenix don't hold back as much as they did if they get into a position where they can contest these fights and be a bit more confident in themselves.
Definitely so, and they definitely do have the comp to do it as well. It is interesting to see they ended up opting for the Rel once again. Obviously, a very sort of highly contested pick when it does come to Silver Phoenix, and this time around, it is gonna be in the jungle role, I would assume. Actually, no, it's gonna be in the support role. Sorry, it's gonna be Makai in the jungle, and Ezreal Rel obviously not as good of a lane in the early game as the Ashe Nautilus is. If there's going to be any engages coming through from the side of Vitagen, I feel like you're going to be completely fine just trying to focus down the Rel for the most part. Ezreal having that arcane shift in his kit means that he's going to be a very slippery fellow to track down. So you might be just better off engaging on the Rel. Obviously, it does mean that it is a bit more of a risk, Rel being having sort of that trade-off where yes, you're not as slippery as the Ezreal, but you are a hell lot more tankier than the Ezreal, especially if you can proc that aftershock, which means yes, you will be a harder target to take down in that sense, but still, it'll be interesting to see how Vitagen choose to play it out, whether even through that arcane shift they can sort of find a miracle engage onto the Silver Phoenix bot lane, but like you said, it is definitely going to be a slower game this time around. Both teams have a lot more scaling into their name, and when it does come to scaling, I do expect the early game to go towards Vitagen with the Nautilus Jarvan and having that Ashe as well. But when it comes to later stages, it is going to be the Ezreal that is the main scaling threat outside of Silver Phoenix, because there is the Victor, but outside of the Victor, not a ton of range. On the side of Vitagen, Ezreal should definitely be able to outrange most of the champions on their side. And if this Ezreal gets ahead, if this Ezreal gets accelerated, he could prove to be quite the menace on the Rift. And obviously, on the side of Silver Phoenix, it is going to be Alagacia, who already gave us a pretty good performance in that game number one. Definitely was the person who Silver Phoenix sort of would have had to play through if they did want to end up winning that game. Would have had to play through that bot side because it was Alagacia was 4-0. I believe in that early game already had the Kraken Slayer in his inventory, and they just didn't really use him at all. Tried to just play towards the top side, tried to save that top lane, and it just didn't end up working out for him. So it is gonna be interesting to see if this time around Alagacia gets a couple of kills, whether it is going to be Silver Phoenix who play through that bot side.
Yeah, I think just to touch on scaling, I think you have to kind of look at this Azir because I mean I'm seeing it from a personal perspective. I'm Azir here. I'm rubbing my hands together because this looks like such a juicy game for you. There's the only threat onto you is kind of like Nautilus, Gwen Jarvan, which you can kind of just deter with your ultimate Kimmich Mental, not covering too efficiently, and is getting jumped on here actually. Going to successfully ward jump over, so we'll be fine. But yeah, I know, as I was saying, fantastic at a game potentially here for General Demon. It's just going to be whether he can get through the lane phase effectively, because a lot of the times the thing about the Azir Victor matchup is it's like, okay, it's weird because it's a skill matchup, but between control mages. So it's like, skill matchups between assassins, and it's like, ooh, they're trading kills, they're fighting a lot. Ooh. Skill matches between mages aren't like that at all. It's kind of more just like who's spacing better, who's kind of trading without taking the damage better, who's doing wave management better. Also, I just saw Shanks miss Q on the blue. That was a bit rough. It's fine. So yeah, I was so excited to see this mid lane matchup because basically this is where I can go like, this mid laner sucks. This mid lane is insane. I'm joking.
It's the little things that matter, you know, like the trading, like you
Exactly.
said, like the patterns in the mid lane. It's gonna be interesting to see who's gonna end up getting prio in the mid lane because it is gonna matter a lot. Over the scenarios, looks like it is gonna be the wave pushing towards him so far, but Victor, I feel like doesn't have as much wave clear as General Demo is gonna have in the early game, so definitely gonna be going towards the Azir in the first couple of levels, as you can already see that wave pushing towards Saros and might even go under tower, which is not ideal, I feel like, for the Victor. It is gonna be not an easy thing to see us with this new wave coming through as well. It's gonna miss a couple here, but you can already see Dutch on his way towards that bot lane.
Yeah, Dutch, you know, as I said, gonna look to play for this bot lane, and Decky walking up, gonna land the hook onto Pavati. Dutch, that means that is your go button. The flag and drag doesn't quite land onto Allegatia as the arcane shift is gonna bring him to safety. Jomi trying to put the damage down, but so is Allegatia, and the jungle gank is just going to force the flash. And I've noticed something that Pavati hasn't opted for Hex Flash, so this will have big value on to the rail.
It is trade of flashes, but like you said, no hex flash on top of it, and with the ignite in Decky's inventory did end up being used as well. It does mean that it is, yes, while it was a double summoner for Decky, it does mean that he's gonna be down in summoners down towards the bot lane without the hex flash in top of it his inventory. It means that his playmaking ability is gonna be hindered a little bit for the next 5 minutes, and not only that, him getting chunked out means any threat of an engage, any threat of any aggressiveness coming out of the Silver Phoenix bot lane is gonna be completely negated, at least for the first couple of waves. It means Jomi gets an absolutely free push, and Decky could potentially start looking around the map here to see if he can make some plays upside the top side as well.
Yeah, and you know, although the gank was kind of only just to force the summoner spells, what it also has done is added some pressure onto the bot. Oh my god!
This time it's Dutch who it got done to. The karma returns. Dutch gets the crab stolen away. And it means he's gonna be actually down a crab if Shanks is not able to get this bot lane crab for himself. But Image Mental is definitely up in the mental as he's gonna be yoinking that one from Dutch, and that's gonna feel bad if you're the Jarvan, man. It's gonna
Yeah,
suck.
that's a bit rough. As I mean, if you're Jarvan, you're kind of fine. You are, I mean, you're a Jarvan, you're okay. But yeah, we see the Hex Flash being channeled. There is no flash from Decky here, actually. So Shanks is gonna be able to get a free kill. Decky doesn't land the hook onto the wall. The wall doesn't move, brother, as you're gonna fall down. First blood going over to Shanks, and Jomi left a kite on his wands, but that is going to be first blood going for Sparks. I can't remember the last time I've seen Nautilus miss a wall.
Who would have thought that with how big the hitbox is that was possible, right? Like,
Well,
but
I mean,
is-
it's more just like, you know, it's there.
yeah, it's a wall.
Like, you know, if someone misses a hook on like a target, then it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, they move.
A good sidestep, you know, type thing. But yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
and
gonna
then-
be a little
yeah,
bit of a punish coming through into Decky.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was a fight, but Kimmich Mental just leaving me on edge, but that's fine. As yep, Dragon getting started. So I'm assuming Dutch EQ'd over to the wall. So I don't know if Silver Phoenix actually see this being started up, and yeah, no indication that Silver Phoenix are aware of this at the moment. So Dutch using that experienced Decky gonna walk over the crab vision. So now suddenly Decky and Dutch is quite low here, so Shanks is gonna walk into the pit, but Decky is there and no Silver Phoenix support here, but Dutch is gonna get brought low to 1 health. Dutch using the flag, it's in a position where he can't be able to get himself out. He is gonna be able to flash away though. Allegatia is being barreled down by Jomi and Decky. Shanks on the run. Dutch is gonna look to execute the tree, and Vitagen, they punish the overstep. And I have to say, Silver Phoenix, this was slightly misplayed, as Vitagen will be able to get a significant advantage off of this.
It's just Silver Phoenix overplaying their hand. It looks like they're so disjointed, a little bit confused as to what they wanted to do. There was no prio on anywhere on the side of Silver Phoenix. You saw prio in the mid lane for Vitagen, prio in the bot lane for Vitagen, and Allegation just tried to make his way in. I like the flash from Decky. It was a good decisive flash from Decky to make sure they got that kill back, make sure they got at least something. As you did see Jomi having to burn flash there, but he's going to get himself over onto safety. But Decky playing that extremely well and just getting Allegation there, getting the dragon for the side of Vitagen as well, and just getting everything they wanted out of that bot lane fight. Gathered Shanks alongside that, and it was just dodge with this sneaky dragon play that ends up in Vitagen's favor. And there's a lot of question marks on the side of Silver Phoenix for the moment.
Yeah, a lot of question marks indeed, and as I said, there is a big difference between good and great. I think Silver Phoenix are a good team, but you saw there, they saw Dutch doing Dragon, and they hit the panic button, and it looks like they completely forgot how to sort of play League of Legends. I saw General Demo kind of not Shurima shuffling correctly. It's like, to be honest, the Zir, that was quite a simple execution, but I'm gonna have to stop myself there as Ant jumps forward. Shanks and Kimmich Mentor jumps to respond, but Ant, look at the damage from the Gwen. Snip, snip goes the Scissor Lady, as there's gonna be 2 kills for Vitagen. And once again, Dutch making plays happen there, and once again, the bot lane of Vitagen getting 2v2'd without the Seraphine.
And this is what happens when you ban away Jomi Seraphine. Finally, a shining light for the side of Silver Phoenix. Kimmich Mental again, just the side of Silver Phoenix on the top side overplaying their hand just a little bit. Kimmich Mental not having his ultimate up means that he's very, very squishy, and just being able to needlework him and just being able to burst him very, very quickly. Dutch being around as well means that it's gonna go towards Vitagen's side. Dutch 2-0-2 currently with this early lead on the Jarvan. Iron Spike Whip in his inventory as well, but the bot lane of Vitagen just gets 2v2 killed again. And you brought this up earlier, Savanix. When they don't have that Seraphine, they just look so much weaker on the side of Vitagen when they don't have that Seraphine by their side, when they don't have that sort of enchanter support slash AD carry slash mid lane, whatever the hell you want to call her nowadays, and just gets killed. And Allegatia on this Ezreal, he is known for being able to sort of 1v9 games. He's known for being able to do a lot of damage, as it's gonna be a Cataclysm in the top lane.
Kimmich Mental is gonna be able to turn it around as Dutch overextends. The kill gets traded and Ant picks one up as well, but you have to feel Kimmich Mental will be happily take that. But we talk about how the Vitagen bot lane is significantly weaker with the Seraphine, but regardless of what happens, the top laner for Vitagen will always be strong. As right now, you had the counter pick, and this was your time to shine, but it's Ant who's getting the favorable matchup here.
And again, it's just on the side of Vitagen, yes, Kimmich Mental is gonna take them, but still only a 1-for-1, and there have no ways on the side of Silver Phoenix to deal with this Gwen. The way I see it, you have the Ezreal, a lot of range. You have the Azir, a lot of range. Well, guess what? Ant's playing Gwen. He's gonna press Hallowed Mist, he's gonna press one button, and suddenly all the range you have, the range you have to play around, goes straight out the window, and is gonna completely demolish Shanks, having true damage, having max health damage. This tanky Maokai is gonna mean absolutely nothing in the face of a Gwen. Kimmich Mental is gonna be able to be the only sizable threat into Ant, but not if he gets a lead, not if he runs away on the Gwen like he tends to do. Already a 1000 gold lead up towards the top lane, same with the jungle, and it's just the top side of Vitagen that is absolutely popping off right now. 400 gold lead in the mid lane as well.
Yeah, it's the same story once again, but Silver Phoenix looking for a play in the bot lane. They have vision on Dutch, so they will be able to prepare for this. Shanks is still chilling in the alcove. The EQ has gone down. Fantastic Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands onto Allegation, but Sapavity responds with a massive engage. Dutch is left to run. Flag and drag away to safety, and he's going to get himself out, but Allegation picks up a kill on to Deki, and another kill for Anton top lane. Kimmich Mental, you need to chill because your team is literally winning the game on the other side of the map. Please stop running it down. Please, I beg, because we saw last game. Why are you dead there? I don't mean to be. Anyway, yes. So we saw what happened in the first game. It's a similar story. Silver Phoenix's bot side genuinely look better than the Vitagen bot side, but it's all about the top lane here. How is Ant 3-0 up against Jax? And yeah, it's crazy to see how consistent and how dominant Ant has been in this matchup.
And this is a matchup we talked about. The top lane gonna be so crucial for the side of Silver Phoenix. A matchup that's favored towards the Jax in the early game, and Ant is just sort of running away with it. Kimmich Mental at this point is kind of can't do anything, and Dodge already going up toward the top lane. Cataclysm is available. He's gonna go down.
If you're Vitagen here, you know where the weak point of Silver Phoenix is, as Ant goes 4 kills to 0, rampage for the Gwen, and it's gonna be the Rift Herald spawn. The top lane turret is got nothing left to defend itself. Kimmich Mental, you are on a spotlight, and it's not a good one. The response is here. Tapavity and Shanks is lying in wake. They know that something is happening. There goes the Maokai ultimate onto mid lane. It doesn't quite land. General Demo brought a low HP. Tapavity is going to land the stun, but that's not going to be much as an overstep from Silver Phoenix. Shanks, you've been hooked into Tapavity. The ultimate from Nautilus is going to be aimed on you. Great response. The Magnet Storm is going to bring in one, but the kill goes over to the Grell, so not ideal. And once again, Vitagen get the upper hand.
And again, Silver Phoenix just overstepping the shuffle.
Oh, Sharima shuffle! As Allegation will pick up the kill off the True Shot Barrage, but Jomi on a killing spree, and we said he was the weak, oh, I guess the 2v2 without, oh my gosh, I don't even want, the 2v2 without the Seraphine wasn't good, but he sat here, 4 kills to 1. And Silver Phoenix, the game was not looking too bad, but unfortunately, it's just gone completely out of hand, and the gold lead is racking up and amounting to something that could be detrimental to your chances of winning the game. And Allegation, once again, it's all on you. You've done your part, but for some reason, you know, if you're Allegation here, you're kind of like, yeah, we won bot lane, but for some reason my lane opponent's 4 kills to 1, so I don't know what's happened here. As Tapavity is going to spawn out Dutch, the stun is going to land. You can just imagine that he's going to turn onto the Ezreal, but no follow-up. Saros is very far away. Allegation gets cataclysmed on. He's going to just use the arcane shift. Tapavity has encountered Saros into the tri-bush, and there's no escape. The flash is available for Tapavity to use, does not opt for it, as it's just going to be the heal to get the support to safety.
Tapavity ends up living, but again, going back to that mid lane play, as I might have to stop myself, Deki is looking for an engage here, but Tapavity is going to be able to get himself over to safety. There's some first strike gold over to start. Oh, +2. Big money in the bank, but it is going to be only the +2. And going back to that mid lane play again, it's just Silver Phoenix. It feels like they're fishing for things that aren't there. They've got the bait on the hook, and they're pulling the rod out of the water before anything catches on. Kimmich Mental is in a 1v2 trying to stop the Herald.
Yeah, I'm trying to stop the Herald, but it's up against 3 people once again. Kimmich Mental in no man's land. Brother, please chill. Your team is just trying to scale as he tries to contest the Herald all by himself, and it's just going to end in another death as a player is going to be attempted on bot lane. I think Tapavity was had his recall cancelled. There's vision in the bush here, but they do not know the Chaos Storm lands onto Allegation as he's gonna be the first to fall. Saros picks himself the first kill of the game. English, I'm foreign. As they're gonna push down this bot lane. General Demo is around, but it's not gonna be anything amounting to, you know, any sort of response from Silver Phoenix. And Vitagen right now, they're running away with it. Kimmich Mental, please stop venting! But yeah, Silver Phoenix, you're kind of just trying to scale right now. You still have the Azir, you still have the Ezreal, but you're just praying that your top laner just calms down. And Joshua Kimmich, I believe this is a reference to Bayern Munich's star player, Joshua Kimmich, fantastic player. I think he's a really level-headed guy. But at the moment, if this is a representation of Kimmich, then it's definitely the one where they lose the Champions League finals. As General Demo is dead.
He's he's dead, and again, this is General Dima, like you already said earlier. He's the one that they need to look towards for the scaling, but him as well is just dying solo in a side lane. But Saras might be actually dead here.
Yes, Saras is getting jumped on the enchanted crystal
Oh
arrow.
my
Is
God.
going to land right on the mark. Kimmich Mental won't be able to pick up the kill. Dutch using the flag and drag, and it's just not going to land much. Shanks having to flash away as the menace of Ant has arrived onto the scene. The dragon gets started up, and there won't be a response from Silver Phoenix as the damage has been done, and there is nothing you can do but watch the unsurmountable onslaught that Vitagen are imposing on their opponents right now.
A cute attempt from Allegatia with the true shot barrage to see if he can take away the Drake, but Ant.
Ant is going to land the needlework onto Kimmich Mental, and is going to be the attempt to retrieve the Cataclysm. Lands onto 2, and it's going to be a demise once again for Silver Phoenix to parity. You are to fall. Ant dominating 6 kills on the board. Here comes Show Me landing the arrows, but the final kill goes over to Ant. Double kill for him on the Gwen. What a performance coming in from the Vitagen top laner.
And this game can be summed up in one word, as Saras is gonna find himself a solo kill in the top
the
lane,
hell?
and is... I'm a little bit confused to this, because at this point I have no idea what the hell is going on. Saras is solo killing everybody, and is just tearing through the entire squad of Silver Phoenix, and it's just, this game can be described in one word, then that is overstep. It is the entire story of game number 2 on the Silver Phoenix. I said, before this series even started, if Vitagen take game 1, Vitagen take game 2, and that is exactly what is happening right here. They are just so damn strong on their side and have the mentality out of the back end of that game 1 that they just... This is a Vitagen squad that once they get rolling, they are extremely difficult to... Oh, Jesus Christ, that top lane. That's what, like 4,800... No, 4,200 gold? Yeah. 4,200, 4,300 gold, about difference, and Ant is being 7 on 0 is gonna be the main powerhouse running through the side, or for the side of Vitagen, but not only that, Saras is on 2 items as well, and we talked about the scaling earlier, but if the side of Silver Phoenix don't even get a chance to scale, yes, Allegatia is in the game. He has the Triforce, but that's all he has against the double items of pretty much everybody on the side of Vitagen squad except Deki. And that's the support. That is probably the least of your worries when it comes to this Vitagen squad. And it feels to me like it is just a hands diff at this point, because Vitagen are just outplaying them all over them.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I have to feel... Okay, I'm gonna stop myself as the needlework has been popped and is gonna chase down Kimmich Mental, and once again, you are going to fall. This could be a world record 1-8 on the Jax. Allegatia is gonna E forward, but that's not gonna do anything. And as I was saying, I think the concerning thing here is, I don't think this was hands mental. I honestly think this was mentality diff. Sorry, not hands mental. This was a hands diff. This was a mentality diff, because, like, how does one go 1-8 in a competitive game before 20 minutes?
Hey, look on the bright side, okay? He's not worth any gold. Like, this is the silver lining, right?
And I don't know, the way I'm watching it, right? The way I'm watching it, he's kind of just walking up to the opponents, eating their full combo, and then just like ignore
Wait,
and
he
like,
does damage.
and then just pretending like nothing happened, I guess.
Oh
Yeah,
my
as that
God.
Cataclysm lands onto Depravity, but it's just gonna be the Rel engage used to run away, and Dutch, he's been a quiet soldier in this game. The hook is gonna land onto Shanks, and that's gonna be another kill for Yomi. Look at the confidence of Ant. This could be the shutdown, and he's actually gonna be able to dash away from the wall, so that's not going to be a shutdown going over for any member of Silver Phoenix as the push continues. You can't help but feel this could potentially be the end of the game as Capacity is being jumped on. The teleport comes in, and that's not going to do anything as General Demo does not have the items yet. There's enough minions for them to feel confident to push forward. Kimmich Mental, you're kind of just standing there, buddy, as General Demo cannot do anything, and here comes another wave. Vitagen will look to use this to end the game. General Demo being brought down to low HP. Vitagen, they've got one more Nexus Star to focus on. Kimmich Metal lands a nice stun. That's going to be members of Vitagen falling. Shutdown going over to the Jax already. Alligator, what can you do? Can you follow up with any damage? And jumping forward, General Demo. Alligator, eyes on you. Put down the DPS. Topavity has arrived onto the scene as well. Can he look for an engage? Look at the needlework damage onto General Demo. The flag has been placed. Watch out for the wave. Dutch engages as he does not look to follow up on anything. Vitagen do not want to stop there. Out on a legendary spree. The Uncharted Crystal Arrow lands to the face of Alligator as double kill for and 24 kills to 7. Vitagen with a dominating performance. 2-0 in the series.
10 on 5 on this Gwen. 3-15. Dutch, like you said, the absolute unsung hero for the moment for the side of Vitagen, and truly just a lot of the reason why Vitagen were as successful as they were. The other half is just Silver Phoenix overstepping time and time again in that early game, digging themselves in a deeper and deeper hole, and before you knew it, the hole was too deep. They had no ladders, they had no ropes, they had nothing to get themselves out, and was just slowly but surely strangled by the side of Vitagen. 22 minutes and a 16,000 gold lead. They had a 6,000 gold lead within 15 minutes on the side of Vitagen, and that puts me with a lot of question marks on the side of Silver Phoenix going into the next week, and it's gonna be, I feel like, a tough task for their side to bounce off of what I want to describe as the most dominating series we have had in any of these weeks.
Yeah, I can't help but feel like when it comes to talking about which has been the most dominant performance, I think this definitely falls into that bracket. And Vitagen, as you mentioned, they are a momentum team, and it seems like they are racking up and riling up into the top half of the league. They were at 10th place coming into the series, and that story is going to be completely different. As I have to say, star performances from absolutely every single member of the Vitagen squad, but the spotlight has to land onto Ant. On the Gwen and the Neferi was an absolute menace, and up against Kimmich, Mental. I often find when people have names like this, it's probably because their mental is bad. And when you're up against a top laner like Ant, you best respect him, or he will put you into the ground. And we saw this game specifically, the disrespect coming out from Kimmich Mental to just consistently jump into a top laner like Ant, with taking trades without necessarily thinking, is this the correct intricate trading pattern for me to win this matchup? And he just got completely punished for it. He was blown out the water. He was completely out of his depth up against Ant here, and he was completely punished for it. And I think if you're Silver Phoenix, you kind of look at this game and you want to take this one to heart, because I would just be real here. The bot side of Silver Phoenix had a fantastic series. I think Alligator, he needs to look at himself in the mirror and give himself a pat on the back. Kind of tell yourself there wasn't much you could have done here. I really like what Shanks were doing to set up plays in the bot lane. I really liked that there were 2v2s coming out from Alligator and what's the support's name?
For the side of Silver Phoenix?
Yeah.
It's Alligator and then Topavity up down the top lane.
Yeah. Alligator to Pavity. Round of applause for you, because you were taking the fight to your opponents, and I think the sad part is it's like you kind of have to be like, why are we losing the game from lane, because the sort of before the Gwen became Thanos with 6 Infinity Stones, the game was looking fine. The game was looking in a fantastic state, and with the double scaling Ezreal Azir, I think they were in a completely fine position to go into that late game or contest to push for that late game. But what we saw was just deaths on deaths, and it was Jarvan and Gwen reaping the rewards, and yeah, it just like I personally hate to see it, because it's like almost like ruining the game for your team, because they were doing well on the other sides of the map. But yeah, in the end, it is the Vitagen powerhouse. They're just too much to handle. And I want to give my shout outs to both Dutch and Ant in the first game. I haven't seen a Kindred performance like that from the SLE jungler in a long time, and I've always been saying this. An SLE jungler who can pull off the performances like Dutch did in that first game on carry picks, that is where you sort of pull away from the rest of the pack and become the sole standing member of that top tier jungler. And similarly with Ant, we see what happens when you disrespect this man. And yes, of course, he had that little hiccup where he got solo killed in the first game. But if you compare how many times Ant outplayed Kimmich Mental versus the other way around, it wasn't even close. They're not in the same conversation. And yeah, Vitagen 2-0. They are currently 4 wins on the board now. And you have to feel like they are once again favorites to reclaim their title.
Definitely so, and Vitagen, with the performance of today, it's gonna be looking quite. I mean, I wanna say they wanna be looking quite strong, but realistically, I don't feel like Vitagen played amazing. I feel like they definitely played good. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like it just wasn't Silver Phoenix's day. They, to me, looked like it. Honestly, it looked like solo queue. And
Yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah.
argue it looked like high elo solo queue. It kind of just looked like your average solo queue game, and it's gonna be interesting to see whether Silver Phoenix can pull themselves back from what feels like a really devastating loss. We might be overstating it a little bit depending on how their mental is. Obviously, we saw Kimmich mental. I feel like it was a little bit of mental boom coming out of him, but nonetheless, it's gonna be interesting to see how they are gonna do going into the next week, and that is gonna be, at least so far, us done for today. It is gonna be a 2-0 for Vitagen, and our next game, I do believe, is gonna be on Tuesday. Sorry, for the moment, it is gonna be it is going to be actually half an hour later than today. So it's going to be at 20:30 CEST on Tuesday. It's going to be Gucci Yang versus Silver Phoenix, and definitely tune in tomorrow for that matchup. But for now, that is going to end us off for tonight. Have a good night. Have a good day, whether depending on where you're watching this from, and we'll see you later.
So yeah.